Hi, this is Chris Kalenda, founder of the Strategic Leaders Academy. Welcome to our webinar. So we are going to cover practical ways to bring out the very best version of yourself and your employees so your cybersecurity team is as vigilant and productive and effective as possible. You know, back in the Cold War, I served on the East-West German border. That's what we called the frontier of freedom at the time. But you, cybersecurity leaders, are on a new frontier of freedom, protecting our businesses, our livelihoods, our infrastructure, and our way of life against a new brand of predators. We need you to succeed. Okay, rules of engagement. As always, keep the microphones on mute. Please pose your questions in the chat room, which our COO, Nicole Kaus, is monitoring. She will flag me when a question appears and I'll answer it right away. If you are listening to this on a webinar recording, you can write the question in the chat or email it to me and we will get you an answer right away. All right, let's get going. So in this webinar, you're going to gain practical tips to learn about the 4 leader archetypes and how they contribute to your team. You're going to understand why there is no single leadership ideal, that you have got the freedom to be yourself and let others do the same. You're going to be able to bring out the best version of yourself and your employees, build healthy habits, and prune away average or unhealthy habits that might be holding you back. You're going to be able to unlock your potential and build a higher performing, more engaged team using 5 key shifts from conventional wisdom, which we'll present here today. And finally, you're going to be able to help your boss bring out the best in you so you are empowered with the right latitude, the right guidance, and the right support. Okay, so this webinar is for cybersecurity leaders who are serious about leading well, about leaders who want to bring out the very best in others, and leaders who want to make the best possible impact to protect your companies, our livelihoods, our infrastructure, and our way of life. It is not for the arrogant, manipulative, or uncoachable people or charlatans looking to make a quick buck. Okay, so does this sound like you? I want to be the best possible version of myself. I want to find the right roles for myself and my employees. I want to build a high-performing team. I am not satisfied with the one-size-fits-all views about what makes a good leader. I want to avoid burnout for myself and my team. I want to have more energy at home and at work. And I want to help my boss and my company succeed. So if all of that sounds like you, you are in exactly the right place. So why is this important? Well, look, there is no single leadership ideal. Hardwiring shapes how we lead, producing 4 broad leader archetypes. And great leaders come in all 4 archetypes. Each just simply leads differently. Now, average and rotten leaders also come in 4 archetypes, and we'll talk about that as well. But how we lead as one of the archetypes is not the same thing as how well we lead. Those are 2 different issues. So we're going to focus on the how today and move to the how well in the next 5 webinars. We're also going to move from a mentality of strengths and weaknesses to a mentality of natural flow, energy, and inclinations. And with this view of the different archetypes, you're going to be able to put the right people in the right roles with the right support and let them amaze you with their excellence and ingenuity. Okay, so why do we do leader archetypes? Well, look, they are imperfect. They are a general orientation. They are not a straitjacket. They provide us a framework for thinking about how different leaders lead and how to bring out the best in each one of them. So it gives you a start point that you then customize to each individual. It's also simple and elegant. It's very easy to understand. You can see yourself in context and see the balance on your team. It's also very practical. So you get highly actionable ways to maintain healthy habits, avoid bad ones, build a balanced team, and mentor much more effectively. And finally, the archetypes are non-judgmental. There are no pejoratives here. There's no so-called high Ds. And you know, when somebody calls you a high D, they're referring to a body part, and it is not deltoid. There are no arbitrary assessments of your supposed ingrained strengths and weaknesses. You just simply have four main archetypes and examples of healthy, average, and unhealthy versions of each. So knowing your who, knowing your leader archetype does this for you. You're able to see yourself and your natural flow, inclinations, and energy. You're able to be the best possible version of yourself. There's no need to try to copycat others. Now, this helps you be authentic and believable. Now, knowing your who also helps you seek out and frame the best roles for yourself. You get much better insight also on how to put the right team around you so that you excel. Knowing your who and your employees' who enables you to bring out the very best in your employees, helping them be the best versions of themselves too. So there's no longer any more subconsciously forcing them to copycat you. When you know your who, you can help your boss or your board help you succeed by empowering you with the right guidance and latitude and support. And finally, it gives you humility. You're not judgmental about how others are hardwired. You just simply help them be the best and healthiest versions of themselves. Now, we're going to talk about 5 key shifts. And once you make these key shifts, here's what you're going to be able to do. You're going to avoid bad copycats. So no more trying to mimic the style of someone else. You don't need to. Being yourself is more than good enough. You're going to be able to lead with confidence and energy as a healthy version of yourself. No more imposter syndrome. You can avoid toxic roles that sap your energy and enthusiasm and increase your risk of burnout. You're also going to be able to hire more intentionally and effectively, bringing the right talent around you so you've got balance. You're also going to be a better mentor. You'll stop subconsciously trying to turn people into clones of yourself, and you'll start helping them instead be the best versions of themselves. And finally, you'll be able to manage your boss or your board more effectively so they give you the right guidance and the right empowerment so you can excel at your job. All right, so why listen to us at Strategic Leaders Academy? Well, look, our team at SLA has amassed over 150 years of highly successful leadership experience in some of the most difficult and dynamic situations leaders face. Each of us has a master's degree or PhD in subjects related to leadership, culture, and strategy. So we bring you over 100,000 hours of research, published articles, and books which produce the best ideas that history and philosophy, social and behavioral sciences, and business management have to offer. We have helped our clients grow by over $25 million and counting. Now that's an over 30-to-1 return on investment for them. Now that's the power of moving from good to great or great to excellent in the big 3: leadership, culture, and strategy. So look, if you're not seeing at least a 10-to-1 return on your leadership consulting investments, it's time to start asking some very hard questions. All right, let's get into these 5 key shifts. So we're going to focus on these 5 key shifts that help you lead as the best version of yourself and help others do the same. So first, we're going to shift from a focus on 4 letters to describe leaders to a focus on your who, your how, and your why. Second is a shift from a single leadership ideal to 4 main archetypes. Third is a shift from a focus on superpowers or ingrained strengths and weaknesses to natural inclinations, flow, and energy. Fourth is we're going to shift from being a cloner to being a coach and a mentor. And these all lead to a fifth shift, from being frustrated in a sucky job with disengaged employees to being fulfilled as a leader of an even higher performing, higher morale team. So let's get after these shifts. Shift number one is a shift from 4 letters to our who. So look, MBTI, DISC, ISTJ, low C, high C, ESTP, ISTP, high D, ENFP, INFP. Oh my goodness, what does this all mean to me as a leader? And how do I keep track of this alphabet soup to see myself as a leader and make decisions? Now look, seeing your personality traits, which these different tests do, can be very useful. And look, I have taken them all. There's a lot of good information in the 50-page printouts, and the counseling is normally very high quality. But your personality and your leader archetype are not the same things. And I don't know about you, but I have a hard time using this information to help me lead as the best version of myself and to bring out the best in others. So at SLA, we used our deep leadership experience and study to develop an elegant and effective way for leaders to see themselves and their teams. So we're going to help you lead authentically, beginning with your who. So no need to stress out over the 4-letter words and acronyms. So authenticity all starts with your who, your how, and your why. Now, your leader archetype is your who. It's a broadly framed depiction of how you're hardwired as a leader. Your leader archetype is very easy to understand and very easy to put into context with others. It's different than your personality. Your who is just shaped by some basic hardwiring, which we're going to discuss next. Now, the other elements of authenticity are your how, which are your operating principles and values, and your why, which is your sense of mission and purpose. Authenticity comes at the intersection of these 3. All right, so let's drill down to your who. Now, we looked at all the ways people are hardwired and sorted through those that most affect how a leader leads. Again, not how well, but just simply how. So we zeroed in on the factors that were highly salient and unlikely to change. So 2 of the most compelling hardwirings are your location on the introversion-extroversion scale and the detail vision orientation scale. Now, placing these together on axes provides an elegant frame of 4 major leader archetypes. So pioneers tend to be visionary extroverts. They get their energy by rallying people behind new ideas and innovations. They are master tacticians, comfortable in fluid environments, and they don't mind uprooting the soil to break new ground. Reconcilers, on the other hand, tend to be detail-oriented extroverts. They get their energy by building teams, managing consensus, and keeping people on board during difficult issues and discussions. Operators tend to be detail-oriented introverts. They get their energy by nailing the details, accomplishing tasks to a high standard, holding people accountable for executing requirements, rules, and processes. Finally, mavericks tend to be visionary introverts. They love solving complex, wicked problems. They make connections between data and events that nobody else sees. They are the ones who make the very big moves and changes. So PROM is the acronym we use for this: Pioneer, Reconciler, Operator, and Maverick. Now notice that I use the words tends to be rather than are when describing the quadrants. Some people, like me, are ambiverts. Others straddle the detail vision line. So the more you learn about each type and reflect on your own personal preferences, the better you can zero in on the one most like you and customize it to your needs. Okay, so Nicole is flagging me with a question. Go ahead. All right, question from James from Boston. James from Boston asks, what about servant leaders and transformational leaders? So, James, this is a great question. Look, servant, transformational, charismatic, and transactional are all particular styles of leadership that are highly changeable. Your leader archetype, on the other hand, is hardwired. You just simply don't change it. So any of the leader archetypes can be servant or transformational leaders, for instance, and they can also grow from being transactional to being transformational or being a servant leader. By contrast, you can't grow or develop from being an operator to a pioneer or vice versa. It's your leader DNA. Awesome question, James. Okay, so this leads to shift number 2, moving from a single leadership ideal to 4 archetypes. So let's take a look at 4 leaders who have changed the world in their own ways. Oprah Winfrey is a pioneer. As a TV personality and thought leader, she has rallied millions of people behind the ideas of compassion and social justice. So let's take a moment to think about pioneers. Extroverted visionaries, the great explorers and innovators. So in the chat box, type in another famous leader who meets this profile. All right, there's a George Patton, there's a Mark Zuckerberg. Excellent, 2 great examples. Our reconciler is Abraham Lincoln. So as president, he built a team of rivals. He held the Union together, won the Civil War, freed the slaves, and set the foundation for the country to come back together again. So let's take a moment to think about reconcilers, detail-oriented extroverts, the great team and consensus builders. In the chat box, type in another famous leader who meets this profile. All right, Winston Churchill, excellent example. Bill Clinton, yep. Meg Whitman from Hewlett-Packard, awesome. Our operator is Queen Elizabeth. So her incredibly high standards of accountability have guided Great Britain and the royal family through some major challenges. Post-World War II reconstruction, the Cold War, nuclear armaments, decolonization, the death of Princess Diana, post 9/11, and now Brexit. So let's take a moment to think about operators, the detail-oriented introverts, the people who get stuff done on time, on target, highest standard. In the chat box, type in another famous leader who meets this profile. Sheryl Sandberg, excellent. Zuckerberg's alter ego. That's why they're such a good team. All right, somebody's got JFK. No, I'd say JFK was a maverick. So he wanted to solve the wicked problem of America's new place in the world after the Second World War. New frontier, flexible response are all indicators of maverickness. So speaking of mavericks, we've got Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs was seized by the potential of the global impact of putting information technology into the hands of ordinary people like you and me. So he created Apple, and the rest is history. So let's take a moment to think about mavericks, introverted visionaries, the great problem solvers, the people with the big ideas for change. So in the chat box, type in another famous leader who meets this profile. Alexander Hamilton, excellent. Somebody who probably just saw Hamilton. Love that example. So look, we just provided 4 examples of imperfect but extraordinary leaders, 4 people who have made a positive impact on the world, and 4 completely different kinds of leaders. And you've added even more names. So these examples alone suggest that there's no single leadership ideal to which everybody's got to conform. Great leaders come in all 4 types. So do average leaders, and so do perfectly rotten leaders. Embracing a more diverse array of leader archetypes frees us to be ourselves and to help people become the best versions of themselves. So look, whenever I discuss leader archetypes during presentations and workshops, I always have people saying how liberating it is to realize that it's okay to lead differently than other people. Here is a recent testimonial from Michelle Flournoy, Chief Executive Officer of WestExec. SLA's leader archetypes gave us a framework to discuss the ways that people lead differently and how we celebrate that diversity as we build commitment to a common culture. This is already benefiting our retention, engagement, and morale. Thank you, Michelle. All right, shift number 3. From superpowers and kryptonite to natural flow, energy, and inclinations. Now look, nobody is hardwired into particular leadership strengths and weaknesses. Different archetypes, as we've discussed, just simply lead differently. So first of all, you don't need superpowers to be a great leader. You just need to start with the best and healthiest version of yourself. You don't need bat wings. You don't need titanium shields, shape-changing capabilities, laser eyes, or magic vambraces. You got what you need to lead. Second, we don't have some sort of natural kryptonite that we can't get rid of either. We can improve or strengthen just about any capability that we want to. It's really just a matter of time, effort, habits, and resources. Think instead about natural flow, energy, and inclinations. When you are operating with authenticity, when your who, your how, and your why are connected, you are most likely to be in a natural state of flow. So you will love what you do and it won't feel like work. So this is why you want your employees to have roles consistent with their archetypes, inclinations. You will immediately improve employee engagement and reduce burnout. Now, when you or one of your employees is operating outside your natural flow and inclinations, and there are times when this is necessary, just recognize that you will need to take deliberate steps to allow yourself or that other person to replenish their energy. Hey, here's a great technique when somebody asks the goofy, "What are your weaknesses?" question during an interview. Say this, quote, "Well, I tend to burn a lot of energy when doing X, Y, or Z. I can do those tasks and I can do them well, but I find them to be less engaging and I'll have a higher risk of burnout," end quote. So this is going to help you avoid the weaknesses trap that may be later used against you and provide an authentic response that will help you set important boundaries and conditions on your employment. Our ebook on the Prom Leader Persona Method breaks down these details for each archetype. We'll discuss this a bit later. So let's drill down into this example by looking at pioneers. So pioneers, as you recall, are extroverted visionaries. They rally people behind new ideas and innovations. They love to challenge the status quo and conventional wisdom. So we talked about Oprah Winfrey with her ideas of social justice, Winston Churchill resisting Nazism, inspiring the British people, General George Patton, the first to integrate new warfighting technologies, tanks, mech infantry, artillery, close air support, Mark Zuckerberg, connecting people by social media, and Mao Zedong rallying people behind the idea of Chinese communism. So healthy pioneers are the ones with the vision and inspiration to make real changes in organizations and in the lives of people. They are quick to see opportunities that most others miss. They integrate ideas, technologies, and new directions with massive impact. Healthy pioneers have the self-discipline to set clear priorities. Healthy pioneers are unafraid to challenge the status quo, but they recognize that how they challenge it is very important for success. They're also sensitive to the disruptive nature of innovation, and they seek to take care of those affected. Oprah is a really good example of a healthy pioneer, and so was General George Patton when he was at his best in France and Germany, the same way with Winston Churchill during the war. Now let's take a look at average pioneers. Average pioneers are innovators and tinkerers who seek to make changes that improve the workplace. Average pioneers, though, can get stuck on the good idea hamster wheel. They keep coming up with new ideas before the old ones get implemented, and it can absolutely drive their teams crazy with constant turbulence. Average pioneers lack the self-discipline to prioritize. Not wanting to be challenged, average pioneers tend to surround themselves with people who agree with them. And this lack of diversity can create major blind spots and serious problems in implementation and execution. Average pioneers tend to create an us versus them mentality. We are the only ones with the right ideas. They are risk averse. They are opposing us, etc. And this can create an unhealthy dynamic within any organization. Unlike healthy pioneers, unhealthy ones or average ones can run roughshod over others, be insensitive to the disruptions and build resentment and animosity to the changes they're proposing. General George Patton in Sicily was an average pioneer. He pitted his command against other commands, namely the British command. He built resentment within the Allied command structure and was ultimately relieved when, as a general officer, he assaulted a private. Type yes in the chat box if you have seen pioneers like this. Yes, yes, another yes. All right, now pretty soon you're going to learn how to help average pioneers get better. All right, unhealthy pioneers become demagogues and tyrants. They create major animosity and backlash against themselves, which causes them to further entrench within a narrow circle of sycophants. They create hyperactivity, constantly shifting and searching for the new game-changing idea, technology, or weapon that will reverse fortunes. They tend to drift into fantasy land. They become highly toxic, driving away all except the most devoted and sycophantics, who, of course, enable the worst tendencies of these unhealthy pioneers. If you're with an unhealthy pioneer, run away very, very quickly. So pioneers can stay in a healthy range by doing the following things. First of all, improving inclusion. Bring other leader archetypes onto your team and empower them to challenge your ideas and help you implement the very best ones. Second is avoiding blind sides by conducting regular azimuth checks with your board or your boss. In this way, you'll not get carried away and race off into areas that they're not ready for. Azimuth checks also help you build support from your boss on the innovations that you're pursuing. And third, have the self-discipline to set and respect clear priorities so that you avoid hyperactivity and confusion. No hamster wheels. If everything is a priority, then nothing is truly important. So stick to a top three. Use a parking lot for lower priority ideas and innovations. That way you keep visibility on them without risking distraction. So here are some ways to bring out the very best in your pioneers. First, set clear expectations. Give your pioneers a clear task or what you want them to innovate or change, and a clear purpose, the why behind and the desired outcomes behind the changes. And then let them amaze you with their ingenuity. This will prevent them from bouncing around from one good idea to another. Second, empower them to challenge the status quo. Encourage them to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. Prune away any us versus them mentality or actions, and coach them to consider the downsides of change and to develop mitigation strategies. Third is diversity. Put a diverse team around them. Operators will keep your pioneers grounded to reality and will get the innovations implemented. Reconcilers will help smooth the rough edges and keep people on board with innovations. And Mavericks will help your pioneers focus on innovations that matter most to your team and help them integrate new ideas into a larger whole. If you're a pioneer, here are some ways that you can help your boss help you succeed. First, clarify your role. Have innovation written into your job description, and make sure your leaders and others know it's your job to challenge the status quo and to come up with innovations. This will help people see you as a team player rather than as a threat. Next is understand your boss's priorities. Get very clear guidance and priorities from your leadership so that you focus your innovative energies on what matters most to the team. Prevent blindsides by challenging the status quo in objectives-oriented language. Avoid criticizing the person. Avoid the blame game. Someone perceiving a personal attack from you is going to dig in their heels. Diversity. Get operators and reconcilers on your team. They will be able to help you bring new ideas to reality. And the Mavericks will keep your ideas focused on the big picture. Finally, get them to give you or gain buy-in. Talk about innovations and new ideas in terms that your managers can rally around. Now, our ebook, which you can get after this webinar, gives you more details on each leader archetype. Okay, Nicole is flagging me for another question. Meg from New York. Okay, Meg from New York asks, are you saying that leaders are made and not born? Hey, thanks for this age-old question, Meg, and it's really a tough one. I think based on the empirical evidence, it's a combination, but on balance, leaders are made. Most people are born with aptitudes that enable them to lead teams if that's what they want to do. Examples from across history and civilizations show that leaders can improve with study, with training, and with coaching and mentoring. This is why leader development is so important and has a very high payoff if it's done well. I hear all the time that people with deep technical backgrounds are incapable of leading, and I categorically reject that prejudice. Thank you, Meg, for a great question. Okay, shift number 4, moving from cloner to coach. So once you know the 4 archetypes and how to bring out the best in each, you can shift from being a cloner to being a coach and a mentor. So many leaders assume that there's this single leadership ideal, and subconsciously, that ideal bears a very close resemblance to how they see themselves. Surprise, surprise. And here's the result. Their feedback to you tends to focus on the ways that you can change to become more like them. This is part of the reason feedback sessions can be so ineffective and so often counterproductive. Now, my former boss, General Stan McChrystal, talks about the need for leaders to be gardeners, providing the environment, the nourishment, the care, so that what they were growing and nurturing becomes the best possible version of itself. So imagine a gardener trying to turn a cucumber into a tomato. Not only will the cucumber not become a tomato, but it's unlikely to become the best version of itself because it's not getting the customized care and nurturing that it needs. So once you know the archetypes and their healthy, average, and unhealthy examples, you can help people become the best versions of themselves by coaching them towards the healthy and pruning away the unhealthy. All right, here's a great hack for your feedback sessions. Use the archetypes to help your employee express ways that you can help them stay in the healthy range and what average or unhealthy habits can be pruned away. Work on the how, set up an action plan, and review that action plan every 90 days. When the feedback is focused on helping people be the best versions of themselves, the sessions move from being confrontational and dreadful to being highly productive and engaging. All right, so think about the feedback sessions in which you have been on the receiving end. Were most of the people giving you feedback cloners or coaches? So type in cloner or coach in the chat box. All right, here we go. Yep, cloner, 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 coach. All right, that's good news. Cloner, coach, cloner, cloner, cloner. All right, you can see this is a major problem that needs fixing, and now you know how to do it. Another client testimonial, this one from Karen Seitz, founder and managing director of Fusion Partners Global. The leader archetypes have given me a framework to think about leader diversity and what natural inclinations people bring to the table. It's also helped me communicate more effectively and develop action plans with my team and our clients. Thank you, Karen Seitz. All right, shift number 5, from being frustrated at work to being fulfilled. So look, if you're coming home after work emotionally drained and exhausted, chances are you are not in a role aligned with your natural flow. And your health, your well-being, your family, your relationships all probably suffer. Are you okay with that? Are you okay if that's happening to your employees? So knowing your archetype, your who, enables you to see yourself in new ways and focus on your natural flow and inclinations. It also helps you put the right talent around you, people whose natural flow and inclinations encompass the other archetypes. With that, you can focus on what you love to do while others do the same, and the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. Now, sometimes you're in a role or need to put others in roles that might not be aligned with their flow. That's all right. Recognizing this helps you put the right talent around your direct reports and to address energy depletion and burnout more effectively. You'll become a much more effective coach and mentor. You'll look forward to your feedback sessions with excitement rather than dread by using these archetypes. And you'll find that your professional life and your leadership become more effective, productive, and fulfilling when you work with rather than against your flow. You'll find that you've got more energy in your personal life too. Okay, so think about your job right now. Are you frustrated or are you fulfilled? In the chat box, type in frustrated or fulfilled. All right, here we go. Fulfilled, fulfilled. Excellent. Frustrated, frustrated. Oh no. All right, fulfilled. Good news. Frustrated, frustrated, and fulfilled. So imagine how your employees feel. Now, get all of this wrong, and your employees are likely to get trapped in soul-sucking jobs. You and your employees are likely to have a higher risk of burnout and be more susceptible to blindsides that damage your business. Get this wrong, and you're going to have a frustrated, suboptimal performing team. Get this wrong, and you're more likely to be a cloner rather than a mentor, turning off very talented people and pushing them right out the door. Get this wrong, and you'll have increased friction with your boss or your direct reports as you talk past one another and fail to find the right ways to bring out the best in each other. Get this wrong, and burnout, flame out, and serious professional and personal damage become more likely. Now, get this right, and you have a very high probability of being the best version of yourself and bringing that to work and home every single day. You have a high probability of serving in roles in which you thrive, thereby improving your professional value, job satisfaction, and promotion potential. Get this right, and you'll have higher levels of energy at work and home. You'll put together a balanced, diverse, high-performing team. Get this right, and you'll be the kind of mentor who brings out the best in your team and leaves a positive, lifelong legacy with those you touch. Okay, webinar audit. Here's what we discussed today. The 4 leader archetypes and how they contribute to your team. We discussed why there's no single leadership ideal, that you've got the freedom to be yourself and let others do the same. We talked about ways to bring out the best possible version of yourself and your employees using pioneers as an example. We also talked about how to unlock your potential and bring a higher performing, more engaged team using the 5 key shifts from conventional wisdom. And we also gave you techniques to help your boss bring out the best in you so you're empowered with the right latitude, guidance, and support. Okay, so if you like this webinar, you're going to love our new course, Build Winning Teams. Now, our course includes our ebook on SLA's Prom Leader Archetype Method, and this webinar and video as well in video and audio versions, plus individual videos on each leader archetype. So here's what the course covers: essential details on each archetype, what the healthy versions of each archetype look like, and ways to help you and others stay in the healthy range. Tips on examples of average and unhealthy habits for each archetype so that you can improve or prune away things that might be holding you or your employees back so you become the best versions of yourselves. You'll get tips on managing each archetype so that you can help others be the best versions of themselves and stay engaged and energized. Imagine what this will do to your productivity and your retention rates. You'll be able to slash the revenue drain that happens through absenteeism, disengagement, and turnover. You'll also get tips on helping your boss bring out the best in you. And you'll get worksheets and exercises that you can apply what you learn right away to your life and your work. And for January of 2020, we are practically giving away this course for the ridiculous amount of $9. So if this course helps you retain just one employee, it will pay for itself 10,000 times over, not to mention the impact of greater engagement and performance. So to get this course, go to our website, strategicleadersacademy.com/courses/build-a-winning-team, or click on the button in this webinar. Thank you so much for being in this webinar. In our next webinar, we're going to cover the habits of leading well. We're going to start off by discussing how to get great results the right way using our 3 core principles of leadership: trustworthiness, respect, and stewardship. In each webinar, you get engaging content and highly practical takeaways that you can apply immediately to boost performance and slash expensive mistakes. We will see you next time. Thank you very much for being here.